Alright, so this is section 9.3 and we're looking at more examples. So what we're going to look at is finding the derivative when you're given a graph. So we're given the graph below, and this is a graph of original function f, and what we want to do is we want to write f prime of a, f prime of b, f prime of c, f prime of d, and f prime of e in order from least to greatest. So the key thing to remember is that these are the slopes of the tangent lines at that point. So, for example, if we look at f prime of a, what that's going to be is that's going to be when I look at that point on the graph, that's going to be the equation, or not the equation, it's going to be the slope of the tangent line there. And that's the same thing for all of these. So if we look at the tangent line here at B, the slope of that tangent line is 0. So we don't know the slope of this tangent line. We could probably approximate it, but for right now, let's just make a note that f prime of B is 0, and that this f prime of A, well, I don't know what the actual slope is, but I do know that if I look at it from left to right, it's going up, so I do know that it's a positive slope. All right, if I look at f prime of C, I also don't know exactly what that slope is, but I do know that because as I look at it from left to right, remember that's how you read a graph, just like you read a sentence, that's going to give me a negative slope. Now if I look at D, that is also going to give me a negative slope. But let's just stop for a second and compare the slope of C to D. So if I look at the slope of D, it's a lot steeper, or at least noticeably steeper, than the slope at C. So that's going to give me a more negative slope, which means f prime of D is going to have a slope less than the slope of f prime of C. And last but not least, if we look at the slope at E of the tangent line, that one's going to give me a positive slope. Now let's compare the slope of f prime of E with the other positive slope we had, which is f prime of A. They're both positive, but f prime of E is going to have a slope that's a lot steeper. And because it's positive, that means it's going to be greater than the one of f prime of A. So if we were to order these from least to greatest, then the slope that was the least, or the most negative, would be f prime of D. Then, next up would be the next negative slope, which wasn't as steep, which would be f prime of C. Then, we have f prime of A, f prime of B, and f prime of E left. Well, f A and f E are both positive, so f prime of B would be next, because it would be 0. Then we would have f prime of A. That one's positive, but remember, it's not as steep as f prime of E, which means it's going to be less than it. So we go from the most negative to 0 to the most positive. All right, now for the next one. At the point 1, 5 on the graph of f of x, what we have is that f prime of 1 equals negative 3. We want to write the equation of the tangent line. So remember, if you want to write the equation of the tangent line, there's 3 things you need. You need m, you need x, and you need y. So when they give us the point 1, 5 on the graph, that's great because they secretly gave us our x and our y point. And then what they tell us is they say, hey, at that point when x equals 1, f prime of 1 equals negative 3. So remember, f prime, that's saying, hey, at that point, your slope is negative 3. So what this would look like graphically before we get into creating the actual equation of the line is that at the point 1, 5 on our graph, our tangent line is going to have a negative slope. So we might have a function that looks something like this, and then this would be the tangent line. So remember, the equation for the tangent line is y equals mx plus b because it's a straight line. We need to figure out what that b is. So just looking at this, I assume it's going to be something bigger than 5. We'll see. So it'd be 5 equals negative 3 times 1, which is our x, plus b. So 5 equals negative 3 plus b. So we add 3 to both sides, and we get b has to equal 8. So the equation for that tangent line would be y equals negative 3x plus 8, which actually, if we look at our drawing, that looks like that makes a lot of sense. How nice. All right, let's look at the very last example. This one's pulled straight from your homework, so I hope it helps. So a point A comma B on the graph of y equals f of x is given, as is the equation of the line tangent to the graph of f of x at a comma b. Find f prime of a and f of a. So if you have a point on a graph AB, well, in function notation, A is A, but we can rewrite that B point as f of A. So f of A is the same thing as, hey, what's your y coordinate at a point? So when they give us 3 comma negative 2, what they're saying is, hey, A equals 3 and B equals negative 24, which is the same thing as saying f of 3 equals negative 24. So right here, our answer would be negative 24. That's your y coordinate. Now, when they ask us, hey, what's f prime of a equal? They're saying, hey, if I give you the equation of the tangent line, then what's the slope? So this equation that they gave us, which is 2x minus 3y equals 78, it's nice, but it's not in the right form of y equals mx plus b. So what we're going to do to get it in the right form is we're going to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. So we'll have negative 3y equals 78 minus 2x. Then we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. So what we end up with is y equals 2/3 x, and let's see, 78 divided by negative 3, that's going to give us a negative, I believe that's negative 23. Or no, I'm sorry, negative 26. There we go. So the slope is going to be the number that's in front of your x. So that would be this number. So our slope would be 2/3. Great. So those are the examples I felt would be the most helpful. If you have more questions, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. I would love to make you guys more videos or just do some more drawings like this. That would be great. Even a Zoom meeting would be awesome. All right, I will see you guys next time.